Good morning, buenos dias, wasabal khair. Welcome back for another lesson from English al Español al Arabi, where we take words and phrases and translate them from English to Spanish and into Arabic. But none of that today. I just want to talk about the rhythm of Arabic vowels, the Arabic vowing system. And then I also want to talk about a cultural issue which has to do with horns. So then, the vowing system. In the Arabic language, let me come back here. In the Arabic language, there are only 3 vowels. I can't believe it. But each of these 3 vowels has a short form and a long form. The long form is a letter from the Arabic alphabet. And those 3 letters are, this text I used for another lesson. We're not going to go through it really. But I'm just using it to demonstrate. Now these red marks are the most important thing when we learn to read the Arabic language. These are the training wheels which we learn to pronounce correctly the Arabic language. And it's called al-harakat. Harakat, or the short vowing system. Al-harakat. Harakat means movement, and that's exactly what it is, because these vowing patterns, they move above and below the consonant templates, and they change the meaning, as well as when we introduce suffixes, prefixes, and infixes in between those consonant patterns. So what we have here are the 3 long vowels of the Arabic language, and those are 3 letters from the alphabet, and those 3 letters are Alif, the first letter, and then Ya is the second long vowel, and Wow is the third long vowel. Now their counterparts, respectively, the Feta, Al-Feta, is the short vowel for the letter Alif, and the Kasra, which is a diagonal mark that goes underneath the consonant that it indicates, is the counter vowel for the long vowel Alif, and Wow, its counterpart, is called a Dhamma, and it's that little ribbon thing that goes above the consonant. Now there's a 4th mark in the harakat system, and that's that little circle here. It looks, usually in real print, it looks like a degree sign that marks. And that's no vowel sound at all. It's Sukun means stillness, so the harakat, the movement, stops there. It's still there. There's no movement. Sukun, a sukun, stillness. So what we have here, and what really brought this into clarity for me personally, and especially since I'm a musician and I'm sensitive to rhythms and things like that, was learning that 2 fetas make an Aleph. And that really was a light bulb for me. So what we have here is the short sound is A, and the long sound is A. A, A. Now the short sound for long vowel Ya is E. Or, more practically it's pronounced A, but technically it's supposed to be E. And the long one is E. 1 beat, 2 beats. 1 beat, A, 2 beats, A. And Wow, the short vowel is Dhamma, a Dhamma, and it sounds Oo. So it's Oo, O, Oo, O. Now when we look at a word like this has 1 feta marking its first consonant, then an Aleph, and then another consonant marked with another feta. So if we were just to pronounce these vowels without the consonant, it would be ah, ah. Now when we put the consonant, this is consonant thal, it's a th sound, tha. So we have tha, t, and the happy face is the good old letter T, or ta, but it corresponds to the same sound as our T letter, so it's tha, ta. Now this is a 2-word phrase that means like one time, basically. The word thata can mean some, but here it means like one time, and then it tells a story. One time we were doing this. So this is actually thata marratin, and it's a way to start a story. This is a story that's called A Fawn and His Mother. But we're just going to talk about, he says, but you have horns. Now I want to talk about this concept of horns, because English speakers might not be familiar with this, but the concept of horns, which is a very offensive idea to call somebody, here in Puerto Rican Spanish, we say when your woman cheats on you and sleeps with another man, she has stuck horns on you, and thusly you have become cabron. Cabron literally means big billy goat, but it's like the worst thing you could ever tell anybody. You better be ready to fight if you ever use that word, and maybe even with a gun or a knife. It's that offensive in this culture. Now the same thing exists in the Arabic-speaking world, and the Arabs know exactly what I'm talking about. And we use the word for horns, which is kur, un kurun. And they say Abu Kurun, which would be father of the horns, and that gets the same result as saying Calderon here in the Spanish Caribbean. You're bound to get a violent result if you imply this. This is the greatest insult that you can say to someone in, at least in the Spanish culture, because I have literally seen fights break out about this. In fact, one time when I was working, a guy hit another guy over the head with a patio brick for calling him a Calderon. Well, I hope you learned something about the short voweling system here in Arabic, and that this concept that doesn't really exist in Anglo culture about having horns. So thanks for watching. God bless you. Dios les bendiga.